At this altitude, the human body begins to break. Your brain receives less oxygen, your lungs struggle, your blood thickens, and slowly your body starts failing from the inside. Some people lose consciousness, some drown in fluid filling their own lungs, some never make it back down the mountain. And somehow, millions of people have lived here for thousands of years, as if the mountains themselves changed them.
Tibet is often called the roof of the world, an enormous plateau suspended above the clouds. Many regions sit over 4,000 meters above sea level. At that altitude, every breath contains around 40% less oxygen. That may not sound catastrophic, but for the human body, it changes everything. Even simple movement becomes exhausting. Walking feels unnatural. Thinking becomes slower. Sleep becomes difficult. The body enters survival mode because humans were never designed for this environment. That's why climbers on Mount Everest carry oxygen tanks. Without them, the human brain slowly begins shutting down. And yet Tibetans work, raise families, herd yaks, and spend their entire lives here, as if thin air doesn't affect them at all. But it does. Their bodies simply respond differently, and that difference may be one of the most extraordinary evolutionary adaptations ever discovered.
When oxygen drops, the human body panics. It releases a hormone called EPO, forcing the body to produce more red blood cells. More blood cells should mean more oxygen, but nature comes with a brutal trade-off. The blood becomes thicker, stickier, harder to pump, almost like turning water into oil. Now the heart has to work dangerously hard just to keep oxygen moving. At high altitude, this can become deadly. Blood pressure rises. Fluid leaks into the lungs. The brain swells. Some people essentially suffocate inside their own bodies. Scientists once assumed Tibetans survived because they produced enormous amounts of red blood cells. That assumption made perfect sense. But when researchers tested Tibetan blood, they found something impossible. Their blood looked almost normal, which meant only one thing: the Tibetan body had discovered another way to survive.
In 2010, scientists discovered a genetic variant inside many Tibetans called EPAS1, and this tiny mutation changes everything. Instead of overreacting to low oxygen, the Tibetan body stays remarkably controlled. It produces fewer excess red blood cells, the blood stays thinner, the heart experiences less strain, oxygen moves more efficiently. In other words, their bodies evolved to function in thin air. But then, scientists discovered something even stranger. The Tibetan version of EPAS1 does not appear to come from modern humans alone. It may have come from another species entirely, a species that vanished tens of thousands of years ago, the Denisovans, an ancient human relative, now extinct. Some researchers believe modern Tibetans inherited this survival advantage from interbreeding with these ancient humans thousands of years ago, which means the reason Tibetans survive at extreme altitude today may come from DNA left behind by a lost human species. And suddenly, this stopped being just a story about mountains. It became a story about human evolution itself.
The Tibetan body is different in ways scientists are still trying to understand. Studies show Tibetans often have faster oxygen delivery, expanded blood vessels, more efficient breathing, and unusually high levels of nitric oxide. Nitric oxide helps relax blood vessels, allowing oxygen to travel more easily through the body. At altitudes where many visitors feel weak and dizzy, Tibetans can still perform intense physical labor. Some scientists have described this as superhuman adaptation, because from a biological perspective, they are doing something the human body is not supposed to do. And they do it every day. Today, scientists around the world study Tibetan adaptation obsessively, because oxygen deprivation affects far more than mountains. It affects heart disease, stroke patients, premature babies, emergency medicine, and potentially human space exploration. Understanding how Tibetans survive low oxygen could one day transform medicine itself. Even elite athletes train at high altitude, hoping to force their bodies to adapt. But temporary training is nothing compared to thousands of years of evolution. Tibetans are not adjusting to thin air. Their biology was shaped by it.
We often imagine evolution as ancient history. Dinosaurs, cavemen, primitive humans. But Tibet reveals something astonishing. Human evolution never stopped. Even now, the human body is still adapting to the planet, changing, responding, surviving. And high above the clouds, the Tibetan people may be one of the clearest examples of that process ever discovered. A population transformed by one of the harshest environments on Earth. Not through technology, not through machines, but through generations of survival.
Humans did not conquer Earth because we were the strongest species, or the fastest, or the most dangerous. We survived because we could adapt. And on the highest plateau on Earth, where the air itself tries to kill you, the Tibetan people became living proof of that ability.